We've invited everyone here today to keep the public informed on what we believe is a very exciting proposal for development in our community. We want you to come here today because we want the public to have complete, correct information. I will be chairing the meeting. I'll give you a little protocol how we're going to do this. I will be providing some introductions to people first, of certain people, individual special guests. We will be then having a presentation from Northland Power. We will have commentary from some of our special guests. I will then make another bit of a commentary, and I can assure you there will be time for everyone, for every question.
If this project doesn't go forward, I believe it's a criminal that it doesn't go forward, because you're going to hear there's so many wonderful attributes, so many wonderful benefits. It brings environmental benefits, social benefits, it's cost effective for the system, and I think it is an opportunity to set up a platform here to really help this community grow and become a centerpiece for attraction of tourism, and we'll get into the details on that. Northland prides itself in what we call intelligent energy for a greener planet, and our motto is clean and green. And as you'll see as we go through this presentation, we develop, build, own, operate projects that are typically natural gas-fired, solar, wind, and biomass, and now hydro. So we do believe we are clean and green. We are an Ontario-based company. We're one of the few in this province that were born here, live here, and we are Ontario-based. You'll find that a lot of other players in the sector are from out of province. Our head office is in Toronto. Hopefully you don't hold that against us. And we have about 230 employees. We're listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and right now, just to give you a sense of size, for no other reason is that hopefully you'll come to appreciate that I think we are capable and we can deliver this project. We're about a $1.5 billion market capitalization. Basically, electricity, the demand and generation have to meet instantaneously. And so what the system planners do, the Ontario Power Association, is they plan the system. And they say, okay, what resources can we use that are typically run around the clock to meet the minimum demand, most cost effective? In our system, it's basically nuclear, Pickering, Darlington, the Bruce, and two very significant large hydroelectric stations, one at Niagara Falls and one in Saunders, which is out each you may have heard of. That effectively, for the most part, forms what they call base load. They typically run around the clock. The nuclear, because you can't maneuver them, if you do maneuver them, they poison out and you shut down. So technically they run. Hydro, because it just makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, the province is not blessed like Quebec with a lot of water resources. We have limited water resources. So then you need types of generation that go up and come down as the load picks up in the morning when people start to get up, take their showers, eat, and then go off to school, so the demand maybe drops off a bit, and then in the evening has to pick up. Those are called what you call intermediate resources. In the past, what Ontario Hydro used to do, and by the way, I worked for Ontario Hydro for 18 years before I joined Northland, used what we call coal plants. The Nanticokes, the Lakeviews, the Lambtons, back then oil with Lennox, and so they call them intermediate plants. They cycle up and they cycle down, cycle up, cycle down. And then what you have is what the peaking plants. So those are extremely, extremely hot days, extreme cold days where you need something to come on really quick, an hour or something, that's a peaking plant. In the old days, we used to use what they call combustion turbine units, or oil generation, okay? So you can put them on very quick and take them off very quick, or hydro facilities. So that's kind of generally how the planner decides how to meet the system requirements, and they do it in a way they say, what's the most cost-effective way to do that? So how does that impact this? Well, the province has made a decision that they're going to want to take off the coal plants for environmental reasons. So now you need something to fill in that gap. The province has also made a decision that we won't use oil for peaking, okay? So now you've got limited water, you've got limited nuclear. What are the options? You basically have gas, solar, wind, biomass, etc. So the planners put all these things together. So Northland participates in a number of things. So where does this pump storage facility come in? And you're going to see a lot of the benefits. But pump storage in jurisdictions where you have a lot of renewables is extremely important. Because and I'll get into the technology, so I won't get into there, but it's an extremely important part of the mix. But what you need to understand is now that we cannot build these projects unless we get a contract. Because if we don't get a contract from the Ontario Power Authority, we will not have the ability to earn the revenues we need to pay for the capital to build it, return the capital, the O&M, etc. So the key thing here is getting a contract. We don't have a contract today. All the work that AECON and ourselves are doing are basically on speculation that we can hopefully convince the Ontario Power Authority to give us a contract. So how does the Ontario Power Authority make a decision to give a contract? One of two ways. The Ministry of Energy and the Minister directs the Ontario Power Authority to negotiate with a developer like ourselves for a contract. It's called direct negotiations. Or within its mandate of producing a long-term plan under the policy directive of the government, the OPA puts together a plan, says here's how I'm going to meet the demand, here are the resources I'm going to use. So much nuclear, so much wind, so much solar, so much gas, etc. Again, under the policy directive of the government. So where do we stand today? We do not have a directive from the Minister of Energy saying to the OPA to contract with us. The Ontario Power Authority in the latest planning has not included this facility in the recommendations for the long-term plan. So what we're trying to do is influence both the Minister and the OPA to say, hey, look, this is a jewel of a project that makes sense and we'll go through it. And you need it to either tell the OPA to negotiate the contract with us or tell the OPA to include it in their plan, which then, once approved, gives them the right to negotiate a contract with you. So I just want to make sure everybody understood that this project isn't a given. It's something that we think should go forward. It's part of the business that we do. We take the risk, we put the money in to develop it. But right now, we need to get that contract. And that's where you'll see at the end, and I'm going to say it here, we do really need the support of the community. We received the support of the Reeve and Council, which is great. We've got the support of Minister Dombrowski, but we need the community to step up with us, just as Kirkland Lake did. Because without that, I'm just a developer, and I'm going to be seen as a developer, okay? But the OPA and the government needs to hear the community wants us. So how does pump storage work? It's kind of really neat. It's basically back to the old physics days, where if I get water up, high enough and I let it drop, I use potential energy and it turns a turbine, and that turbine then makes electricity. So the idea here is we'd use the infrastructure that's there at Marmora, and what we would do is you'd have a reservoir at the bottom, a reservoir at the top, and you connect it through basically a tunnel. So at night, when you have more generation that you need, because there's a lot of nuclear, there's a lot of water, etc., you may have been reading in the paper, especially now with wind coming on, that there's more power. So what they're doing is spilling water, or shutting down wind turbines, or even selling it to the US. The beauty of a Marmora pump storage facility is this machine can take electricity and acts as a load. So all that power that you would not be creating because you're spilling the water, that power you're not creating because you're shutting down wind turbines, or that power not using because you're selling it to the other neighboring jurisdictions, you could be using that to run, in effect, your pumps to move the water from the lower reservoir up to the top. So now I'm consuming all that power that would otherwise be wasted, and I'm moving it to the top of the reservoir. Now the day comes along, demand picks up. We've used all our nuclear, we used up our water. Well, rather than running gas, I can now drop this water down and I make electricity, in effect, for the cost that I incurred by absorbing it. So it makes a lot of sense. I'm taking power that's wasted, and in the daytime, I'm dropping it down and making water. That's the essence of this thing. So what are the features, technically, of doing that? First of all, you're saving, in the technical jargon of the industry, they call it surplus baseload generation. So when you have excess water or excess nuclear or excess wind that you can't use, this allows you to use it. The other beauty of this is wind is what they call a very unreliable resource. It goes, changes quickly. If you recall, I said that electricity requires you to match very quickly. This resource responds very fast. Bottom line is, it helps integrate intermittent resources like solar, like wind, whatever. So it makes the whole system more effective because it can operate. It's very cost effective because here in Marmora, you've got most of the infrastructure already paid for. It's just a natural environment. It's like Niagara Falls. All we're going to do is come in and put some infrastructure, get the water up and down and turn that turbine. So you've got the infrastructure here. It's a unique feature. The other unique thing is it's in a location that's in southern Ontario and close to transmission. So it doesn't require building out 100 kilometers of transmission line. It's 8 kilometers of transmission, not very far. And you're taking a site that, you know, I don't want to make it sound like it's an ugly site. I apologize for that. But you're going to take a site and you're going to see pictures and you're going to beautify it and you're going to turn it into something that is actually, it's a beautification project if nothing else. And you'll see pictures of other similar pump storage facilities around the world. They're quite amazing.
Okay, so what I thought I would do is I would give a summary first about the project and some of the key things, and then I'm going to talk about how we came to see this as a potential opportunity. So some of it will be repeating from what you've heard, but we just want to make sure that people are clear on the messages. So obviously we're making use of an existing land formation so that it really helps contribute to making the project very economical. You have easy access to a major transmission corridor between Ottawa and Toronto, and there's capacity on those lines to absorb the power that this would be generating. The funding, the investment of the project that we'd be making as Northland Power is $660 million, which is a significant investment. It's all private sector. It's all through our company. There'd be, I put 800 plus jobs. The construction of this project would take approximately 4 years. During that time, there'd be sort of between 800 and 1,000 jobs, direct and indirect jobs created in order to move the amount of rock that we need to move in order to make this facility, and I'll get into a little bit more details of that afterwards. Once in place, this facility has easily a 100-year life to it, so it's going to be committing that mine and these resources to that use and away from potential other considerations that may be much less desirable. It's going to be zero emissions because, as Sam has said, we're going to be using energy to fill the upper reservoir. That's like renewable energy, wind that would otherwise be wasted, or surplus electricity from water and nuclear. So when we're running the water down, so it's zero emissions to bring the water up, zero emissions running down. So it's absolutely emissions free. There's not going to be any smokestacks or smoke billowing from the site at all. And it also comes with once it's in place, there'll be 45 well-paid jobs on a continuous basis working at the facility. And the other opportunities that and this is why the colleges are here, is we see this as great potential as a large classroom for the educational institutions. That's right from primary school up to post-secondary education. So we've had discussions with the colleges and Trent University to talk about the possibilities, explore with them ways that they could integrate this resource into their education programs, and also looking at ways through some of their education programs. As you hear, they look at things like tourism and look at how that can be developed and accommodated. So the target for us is we'd love to see this facility up and operating by 2015. And as Sam has indicated, in order to do that, we would need to move along fairly quickly in working things out with the Ontario Power Authority to contract this. So what are the attributes that drew Northland to be looking at this project? And as I say, you've got a man-made geology that you've created. And we know that Marmora's got a proud mining history that brought a lot of prosperity to the community. And the nice thing about this project is it's basically the people who worked in developing that mine have set the stage for a much longer picture. They may not have realized it at the time that they were doing it, but that's what they've accomplished, which is quite fantastic. And this has a tremendous potential to play a significant storage role for Ontario's electricity system, but also a power support role. So the excavation work to create the lower reservoir has already been accomplished through years of mining production. So it's not like a project is being proposed where you'd have to dig the hole. and obviously it would take a long time to dig a hole of this size. The mine is very deep, over 700 feet, and it's got a steep change in elevation. And when you're developing water power, what you're looking for in an ideal situation is you're looking for as big a drop as possible and to have the drop be as vertical as possible. And this has both of those attributes because you can see how close the upper reservoir would be to the lower reservoir. There's sufficient waste rock material already available, as I've said, and it's ideally located. So in developing it, we wouldn't need to touch or access other lands. All the material is available on site, and all the land that we need to work with is available there as well. In terms of water supply, that's important to running a hydro facility. You saw in the photographs previously that since the mining operation ceased, the pit has naturally filled up with a substantial amount of water. And just a quick statistic you might find interesting, but I was doing some math, and if you filled the Sky Dome or Rogers Center, you could fill it 19 times, and that's how much water's in the quarry there. It's really quite a significant amount of water. And this project would be in the evening moving about 2 Sky Domes worth of water up to the upper reservoir, 2 to 3 Sky Domes worth and back down. So that's a significant amount of water movement, and that's why it has the capability of generating 400 megawatts of power, which is kind of enough power to power about 180,000 homes. In terms of land use, the site currently hosts industrial activity, the stone crushing operation, and this is another form of industrial activity that is consistent with what's happening on the site today. As Sam also said, if this wasn't close to transmission, it wouldn't be an opportunity into itself. So if it was 300, you might have a perfect circumstance physically for creating pumped storage, but if you're 200, 300 kilometers from transmission, you're not going to be able to get the power from the facility onto the grid. You have a very unique situation here because you're close to very close proximity to a major transmission corridor. The other thing around Ontario is just because you see a hydro tower doesn't necessarily mean that tower or that line has the capacity to take the electricity. There's a lot of areas in Ontario that are running right at the limit in terms of what the transmission system can bear. So what's nice about this project as well is it's not located in what we call a transmission constrained area. We can actually connect and get the power out. So that's really quite an important consideration as well. Another thing that is a tremendous attribute is it's a very accessible site. So, being right off Highway 7 and a short distance off the 401 corridor means that there's easy access for workforce to come and participate, be part of the 800 to 1,000 jobs there. It makes it easy for equipment and material supply. And I guess you could think of the supply in this circumstance, an example would be coffee for 800 to 1,000 people. I don't know if the owner of Tim Hortons is here, but there may be an opportunity there to be considered. We talked about the educational opportunities for area schools, colleges, and the university. And many of these facilities, there's one in Wales that has developed a strong tourism component about it. They get annually a regular visitation of tourists on an ongoing business or an ongoing basis who come to see how the facility works and take some passive recreation in the landscape around it. We know that there's currently interest by rock clubs and so on, and there's a unique natural feature there that we would intend to preserve. In terms of a wetland, what we'd be looking at is bringing a trail system to it so that it's got access for people that want to look at those natural elements.
This is a drawing of the proposed Marmora pumped storage project, and you can see this is a drawing looking through the cross-section of the facility. So you're looking through the cross-section of the existing open pit mine, and the proposal is to put the reservoir on top of the existing waste rock pile, and then have the lower reservoir down in the bottom of the existing open pit mine. They would be connected by a penstock and a power plant buried deep in the rock at the base of the old open pit mine. To give you an idea of scale, the drop would be about 200 meters, and compared to Niagara Falls is only 53 meters. So we're looking at a drop that's almost 4 times the drop of Niagara Falls. And this would produce about 400 megawatts of power for 5 hours. To put that in perspective, that's equivalent to the power to power about 180 homes, 180,000 homes. Next slide, Tiffany. There's no additional land required, and the upper reservoir will be created from the current perimeter of the existing waste rock pile. So most of you know the existing waste rock pile that's there, and the reservoir would be created within that boundary of the existing waste rock pile. That rock pile would be resloped to more gentle slopes that could support planting and landscaping. So the finished reservoir would be essentially a park-like setting right around the full perimeter. In terms of traffic, local traffic will primarily be from the workforce. This would be light vehicles coming into the site, so workers attending the site during construction, and then the plant operators attending the site once the plant goes into operation. Heavy equipment would be coming into the site in the beginning of construction and then leaving the site at the end. So there isn't going to be a steady stream of heavy equipment going in and out of the site. And the equipment for the powerhouse would be brought in during the construction, but wouldn't represent a tremendous amount of heavy truck traffic either. In terms of water supply, there's enough water available from the water that's now in the mine, and the operation of the pumped storage plant will be a closed loop system. So the water is continuously recycled back and forth between the upper reservoir and the lower reservoir. The upper reservoir would be built first and then filled with water from the lower reservoir, so construction of the powerhouse could be carried out in the bottom of the open pit. And that water being moved to the upper reservoir leaves the upper reservoir full, ready to start operation of the plant when the plant's ready to go into operation at the end of construction. Given that the mine has been filling up with water since it was closed in 1976, it seems very likely that the rock is a very impervious formation of rock, and that water is really only coming into the mine from rainwater and snow precipitation. Okay. Next slide, please. So why now? We're looking at negotiating a contract with the OPA and moving towards building a pumped storage facility here as soon as possible, because we'd like to have this facility online by 2015, if possible towards the end of 2015 or the beginning of 2016. This would allow the pumped storage facility at Marmora to help Ontario balance the integration of new wind and solar resources into the grid, new renewable energy resources into the grid. Marmora will also help improve the integrity of the Ottawa to Toronto electricity grid system. The Marmora pumped storage facility delivers many important features. It's the lowest cost option for new generation in Ontario. It also provides a wide range of electricity operating benefits to the province, and it will bring local and area community jobs and benefits. And perhaps most importantly, it's going to bring important environmental benefits to the area. Overall, the Marmora Pumped Storage Project is a cost-effective power generator and local economic prosperity generator.
So talk about next steps, what kind of needs to sort of happen in the path forward. As Sam had alluded to it earlier, there is actually, there was a directive back in February 17th that what I'd say was an enabling directive for pumped storage, but it needs I guess a further elaboration of that directive to help this project move forward specifically. This is from what we've described, you can picture that there's not circumstances like you have here scattered around the province. This is really quite something unique that you have here. The Ontario Power Authority can generate or adjust their overall generation supply mix to build this in, and it's not stopping from other projects from moving forward. We're just saying it should be moving ahead on its own merits. So, as Sam indicated as well, that's something that needs a push from the government in order to make it happen. And the reason why we're here, and we want to spend lots of time with the community, make sure that people have their questions answered. And if we don't have the answers, we will research it and get back to you with the answers. We just want to be straightforward and straight up working with you. That's part of our core values at Northland.
Thank you for the invitation to join you today, and how pleased I am to be here representing Hastings County. I'm excited too, and I must say that I did not know what pumped energy was either, but now with your presentation I do understand it a little bit. I am truly excited about this project, and I see it as a great opportunity for Marmora Lake, the county, and indeed all of Eastern Ontario. The substantial economic potential and the long-term benefits will have a tremendous impact on the people and the businesses of this community and the whole area. There are so many positive reasons for this project to get the green light to move it forward. The hundreds of construction jobs that are very much needed, the long-term employment opportunities for those who will be responsible for operating the facility once it is up and running, forever eliminating the former mine site as a landfill for other people's garbage, turning the site into a model of green energy production and storage, all the ecotourism possibilities, and then today we heard from all the community colleges and Trent University what great post-secondary education opportunities they are with this facility. Let me say that as warden of Hastings, of this great county of Hastings, I will do all I can possibly do to work with Reeve Terry and his council and with Northland Power to get this incredible project moving forward. Hastings County would like to show our support for this project, and I will be taking this information back to County Council at the end of the month for a formal resolution of support. I also intend to secure the support of my colleagues at the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. Our entire region stands to benefit from this exciting project. So again, Terry, Sam, John, and Tim, congratulations, and let's get this going.